This video includes an ad for Squarespace.
Hi, I'm Alex, and this is also Alex. Now this Alex here is a drawer section made by Ikea. Now Ikea makes like a gajillion pieces of furniture each year, and this is one of their most popular lines, so I figured there's millions of these things out there. So chances are, a lot of you guys that are watching right now probably have one of these. Which probably also means that you already know that although this is a really great and affordable piece of furniture, it leaves some things to be desired. Like for instance, the drawer doesn't open all the way, it's really hard to reach all the stuff in the back here, and there's no good system to organize any of this. So, since I love organizing things and creating organizing solutions for things, that's exactly what I've done. So this video will be all about this organizing and storage solution that I made for these Ikea drawers. And not only for this piece, but I went out and got every single different variation of the Ikea Alex drawer section thingy that they make. And we're gonna organize all of them. It's also worth mentioning that in case you don't already have these drawer sections, but are at the end of this video thinking that you would like to get some either because it organizes the system or because they're cool on their own, you can often find these for sale used. In fact, I bought all of these used, and on average, I paid like a quarter or a third of the original retail price for all the things in here. Definitely makes them great value for what you get, especially once you get to organizing, which we're gonna do right now. So the organizing system that I'm gonna show off here is loosely based on the organizing system that I made a long time ago. I'm sure you're sick and tired of me explaining this by now, but essentially it's just a bunch of 3D printed boxes with like a grid system in the bottom. That grid system makes it so that you can put any box anywhere in the grid and it won't move around on you. Either it's in a case like this or in the drawer when you open and close it a lot. Just because I like showing it off. These cases also have the additional benefit that you can close them up, flip them upside down, and hopefully everything should stay in place. That's really cool, and I love these. Now the challenge becomes, how do you adapt this system to a random drawer size that Ikea decided to make these? Which in itself wouldn't be that hard if you only needed to fit in one of these types of Ikea drawers. But a lot of times people have multiples of these, and a lot of times in different sizes. And I guess just to be annoying, Ikea decided that all the drawers in all the different Ikea Alex systems should be different widths and depths. Which brings me to something quite interesting, because this is Ikea's way of solving this issue. So Ikea sells these boxes, right? Which are actually pretty nice. They're made out of cardboard, relatively cheaply made, fit quite well into these drawers, and one set fills out one of these small drawers quite well. But here's the issue, and essentially all this comes down to the fact that these drawers don't open more than like 2/3 of the way. And that goes for all of these in all the different sizes. So what you're left with, if you want to store something in the very back, you need to use this big, large container so you can actually reach it. Because if you flip things around and you want to put something in that small one in the back here, there's no real good way of getting to it other than like taking this out and then grabbing it like that. So that's the first issue that you need to solve. The second issue, which I guess started this whole tangent of rambling about the Ikea way of solving this being the wider version of the drawer section, you would think that you can just buy multiples of these inserts and organize these drawers in that way, which you sort of can, but the fit isn't great. And like one of the sets leaves you with these two additional ones, and there's no real better way of organizing these, because they don't exactly like follow a strict grid. So you're quite limited in the way you can rearrange this. Not to talk about the smaller drawer section I make, which this thing doesn't even fit inside of. And these things don't really add up to anything. Now that leaves us with two problems that we need to solve. One being the fact that we need to be able to reach stuff that's in the very back here relatively easily. Problem two is that I want to keep the same organizing style across the different variations of these drawers. So that if you have multiples of these, the boxes from one will fit in the other one. And of course, we're going to solve all of this with 3D printing. Now, the way I went about this project was to first start by measuring all the different drawer sizes, which, like I said, are mostly different, and then trying to figure out a grid system, just like in the assortment case that I'll show you, and then a size for that grid that would fit across all of these. Now, through a lot of trial and error, almost sort of by accident or luck or whatever you want to call it, the system that I ended on is a grid system size of 40 millimeters. Now that just so happens is the same exact size as I designed for my previous project, which was organizing everything in my kitchen. For that, I designed these boxes that come in all different variations of sizes. And in case you haven't seen that video yet, you can go check it out up there. I'm really happy with the way that turned out, and I use it in my kitchen every single day. Now that system has one limitation, and that is that the drawer that you have sort of has to open all the way, or else you'll just not be able to access the stuff in the back. Which is exactly the problem that we have with these stupid things. And now this is my way around this. Now this is essentially just the base grid from all my other systems where the boxes lock in place in the bottom of another larger box. Now this box is the exact right size to fit in one of these drawers, even taking into account these small little annoying screws. Now that means that you can print multiples of these, and one drawer will actually fit 3 of them. Now this in itself doesn't really solve the issue of not being able to get to stuff in the back here, but what does is that these now come out, stack on top of each other, and make it really easy to slide out the backmost drawer, get whatever you need, maybe even rearrange some of these and shove it all back in there. And now you can do all of that while all of the boxes are still inside of their frames. And since all of these stack together, I found that this is actually a quite nice way of storing large amounts of stuff, pretty organized, even if you don't need it easily accessible all the time. So now, that's the box system for the topmost drawer, but if you come further down here, the drawers in the bottom are slightly thicker. And that's where real fun starts. Because for starters, you can use the same exact tray that I've used in the top one, and it will sit on the top lip here and slide back and forth, which allows you to have the same organizing system in the deeper drawers as you have on the top ones, with interchangeable cradles or frames or whatever you want to call it, while at the same time maintaining a lot of space underneath here for larger items that you can easily access by removing 1 or 2 of these. Or if you don't feel like doing that and you just want the most amount of boxes, here's the deeper version of that same thing. Goes in there. Obviously, you know the drill by now. This is now the bottom row of boxes that have taller boxes. These are actually the exact same ones as from the kitchen. These are the same height even, with an additional box that goes on top, adding another layer of 3D printed boxes, on top of the boxes, and everything closes up. Okay, now that's enough box inception for now. You're probably wondering why some of these have this weird color pattern. And well, that is because all of these are actually printed in 2 different pieces. Because as one unit, they will be way too large for most of my 3D printer. But split apart, all the parts actually fit on my smallest printer, the Bambu Lab A1 Mini. Which, by the way, I printed all these parts on a variation of my Bambu Lab machine. So if you end up downloading any of the files for these, I'll make sure to include the print files. So how do we make 2 of these become 1? Well, start off by printing 2 of the same half, because all of these are just 2 of the same exact piece stuck together, which I'm really happy with. And the way these turn together, also really happy with. First off, there's some tiny holes in the edge here into which you can stick a piece of filament, snip it off, repeat the same process with the other hole, snip that one off too, and then you can really satisfyingly join these 2 pieces together, which leaves you with already a pretty solid joint. But then with the edges here, you'll notice that they sort of zigzag together. You guessed it, insert another piece of filament all the way through, snip off the filament again, repeat the same process on the other side, snip, snip, and without any glue, this thing is now one pretty solid box. Now, obviously, you can add a bunch of glue and make it even stronger, but so far, none of these are glued. Now, in case you end up with a box that has holes that are a little bit too tight and it's hard to get the filament through there, drilling them out with a 2mm drill bit will make the holes a little bit larger, just enough to fit that filament through. And if it becomes a little bit too wobbly after assembly, a little bit of glue will fix that right away. And now, of course, if you want to download any of this, it will all be available to download on my website, which is alch.shop. And now that is also a perfect segue to today's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is a huge part of the reason why I am able to do what I do. I use their platform to build my website long before they started sponsoring my videos. A website where I sell both the 3D files for these boxes, as well as a ton of other 3D files for different projects, as well as build plans for most of the things that you see in my videos and around my shop. And now, whether you want to sell physical or digital products, Squarespace has the merchandising features to make your products look their best online. And you can now start building your very own website using their new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. Choose from professionally curated layout and styling options to build a unique online presence from the ground up. Tailored to your brand or business and optimized for every device. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/ALCH for 10% off your first purchase of either a website or domain. Okay, but I said I was gonna make a system that fits the same exact boxes for each one of these different size drawers. So let's say if I did that. I mean, it would be kind of weird to get to this point and be like, yeah, couldn't do it. Sorry, bye. But what I have done instead is to make that same style cradle just larger. They're the same length, but instead of 4 frames long, they're 5 frames long. Now, unfortunately, that also means that these parts need a slightly larger 3D printer. Now, since these drawers are wider, this allows us to have 2 boxes width, and the rest of this is essentially just the same thing. A big frame to hold whichever sized boxes that you want to put in there. These are easy to grab out. They stack on top of each other, and that way allow it for really easy rearrangement or relocation if you want to keep a bunch of these and interchange what you want in which drawer. Now, the bottom 3 drawers of the system are slightly taller than the top 3, but instead of bothering with different sized frames for the boxes, I've instead opted to keep the same frame for both heights. But of course, if you want, you can print the slightly taller boxes from the tall drawers on the small one to get a little bit more height compared to the ones that fit in the more shallow drawers. And really the only consequence of this is that they stick up a little bit more, but they go inside there just fine. And now, because this is the one place where Ikea has the same drawer size across 2 different products, the drawers for their desk fits the exact same system as their wide drawer section. Phew. Which leaves us with the very last sort of outlier of this project, and the probably least elegant solution, if I'm honest, because this silly little supposed to be wall-mounted drawer section thing, honestly, compared to the other ones here, is kind of dumb. Like, a solid half of this already tiny drawer is so just inaccessible. Now, my way around is, and the space here was pretty tight while trying to maintain the same box size, is this as a frame, which will fit the same boxes as everything else, will fit in here and will be able to slide back and add another row quite snugly. Now, yes, they do still stack, so you're still able to pull out individual boxes, stack them on top of each other, and rearrange them in that way. But the width here doesn't quite add up, so they do need some spacers in the very bottom, which will be included in all the download files for all these boxes. The same thing, by the way, goes for that drawer section, which needs a small spacer in the very back, also included. And now, since we're talking about stuff that's included in the download, which you, by the way, can get from my website, which is alch.shop, included in this download will be a lot of different variations of boxes, because this is the most basic one. This exact one is the tall version of this box. Now, in addition to this tall version, there's also a short version of the same box. All the different boxes will come in all the different size variations, all the way from a 1x1, which this is, 2x1, 2x2, 3x3, and everything in between, all the way up to the maximum size of a 5x7, which is the largest size you could fit in one of these. And not only that, they also come in multiple different variations of those sizes. The most basic one is this one, which has the visible base grid at the bottom and a place to put a label. Now, in case you don't want that label, there's also boxes that are the exact same, just without the label. In case you like the label but don't like the frame in the bottom, this one has a flat bottom with the label. You guessed it, flat bottom without the label. And then in case you want to print really large boxes but don't have a printer that's large enough, all of these different variations will also come in split versions so that you can glue together boxes to make one large box. So that if you for some reason want to make a box that entirely fits out one of the cradles, I'm not going to stop you. Now there is actually one more issue that we sort of have to deal with, because once all of these drawers are loaded up with these boxes, you'll notice that they essentially fill out the entire space where you would normally put your fingers to drag out the drawer. Now one way around this is literally just to pinch it and drag it out like that. I do realize that that is not the most comfortable. So another solution is that I've designed these handles that will fit perfectly into these slots to make it nice and easy to pull out. They have the same exact curvature as the handles here, and they're quite simply just align on top and screw in with 2 screws, nice and easy. And just like that, you got a really sleek, nice looking handle that also does not interfere with any of the boxes on the inside of the drawer, which once you attach them to all the drawers, I actually think even looks better than what it did originally. And there's a color, obviously totally up to you. This is a gray one that sort of matches the cabinet, or you can go a bit more crazy and print a bunch of different colors, which, I mean, doesn't that look great? Oh, and also, in case you like these handles but don't really care about any of these silly boxes, this will be able to download from our website in a separate file completely for free. Now, there is, of course, one downside to this, which is of this entire project, this is the only thing that will leave a permanent mark from the 2 screw holes in case you decide to remove it after effect. So I guess the handles are semi-permanent. So yeah, that's it. That's my way of solving the same thing that Ikea did with some cardboard boxes. Just a lot more complicated with a lot more 3D printing and a lot more fun. Like I said, you can download all of this on my website, which is alch.shop, where you also can find a bunch of other really cool things to download. So go check that out. As for now, thank you so much for watching this video. See you guys in the next one.